hard on myself, I would say, is like the negative way to put it. Honest with myself. It's the way
Okay.
that I would like to repackage
Okay.
that
I
as
love this.
like, I'm not gonna lie. If it's not good, it's not going in. For this book, I did feel that it needed to be a little bit of a kitchen sink book, but it needed to have everything because I wanted it to be generational. Like,
Mhm.
I had that ambition for it. They put, I think, I don't know, on a lot of the marketing copy, era defining, and if there is an ambition I had, it was like, what is this moment that we are living in and
Right.
where are we going? And I did want to write that.
Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today I am joined by Angela Flournoy. She is an award-winning novelist and writer, and today she is here to talk about her second book, The Wilderness, which has been longlisted for this year's National Book Award. It follows the 20-year friendship of 5 Black women over the course of their lives. Today, Angela and I discuss how she thinks about writing as a lifelong reader, why she wanted to write a book about Black women and friendship, and how the content of her novel helped shape the way that the story is told. And we talk a bunch about hard novels, easy novels, and the types of books that excite us. Angela will be back on October 29th to discuss this month's book club pick, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. And an exciting announcement: The Stacks is now on YouTube. You can catch video clips and shorts at youtube.com. Our handle is at The Stacks Pod, just like it is everywhere else. So go subscribe to watch videos of this conversation and all of our future conversations. If you like what you hear today, if you want more of this podcast, more bookish content, and community, consider joining the Stacks Pack on Patreon by going to patreon.com/thestacks and subscribing to my newsletter, Unstacked, which you can find at tracythomas.substack.com. Both of these places give you bonus content. Both of these places make it possible for me to make the show every single week. All right, now it's time for my conversation with Angela Flournoy. All right, everybody. I feel like this episode has been like a long time coming because I've been talking about this book since, I don't know, the beginning of time, it feels like. I am so excited today to be joined by Angela Flournoy. Her latest book is The Wilderness. As at the time of recording, it is longlisted for the National Book Award. Angela, welcome to The Stacks.
So happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Okay, we're going to start with just tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where did you come from? And what was your relationship to books like before you became a person who writes them?
I am from LA, LA
Mhm.
County, LA proper, all of the parts of it. I am I've always been a reader. I was an early reader. And so books have always been like a big thing in my life. And I have known that I wanted to write since I was like 6 years old. So there's not a lot of time between me becoming literate and me wanting to be a writer. It's like 3 years maybe. So I've always thought about books, both just like the pleasure of them, but how they work. Since I was very small, like reading C.S. Lewis, like Chronicles of Narnia, I have been like, how do these things work? That is just how my brain has always kind of functioned.
Okay, so when you're 6 and you're reading Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, what are you thinking of, like, this is how this works? Because I didn't start thinking about how books worked until like yesterday. So I'm curious, like, as a child, how you were thinking about
Well,
that.
I was thinking about like, why do we see certain kids at certain time? Why are some like things held from us until like the next book or the next book in the series? I just had a lot of questions about like, why was I getting the story when I was getting the story?
Oh my God. Okay. I'm obsessed with, I want to spend the next hour on just this one thing. Okay. So follow-up question. As you get older, as you start becoming like a writer, a professional writer, you're an adult, or you're thinking about it, you're working towards this goal of becoming a published author. As you're reading other books, can you enjoy a book even if you don't like how it works?
I mean, if I don't like how it works, I'm probably not enjoying it. But I do believe in like being a fan of like a book, like of reading and literature first. I remember, I don't know when this was, but my very good friend Justin Torres was like, the problem with a lot of people in MFA programs, we were in an MFA program when he said this, so it must have been like 2009 or 2010, and he was like, is that they don't read for pleasure anymore. They
Mm,
are just reading like a writer. And I always read for pleasure first. It's
okay.
usually like I am deep into a book and then I'm like, wow, this POV, like, wow, she's doing it. Or there's something that I feel like you're not going to be able to pull off. But I'm like, oh, well, I'm having fun. We're going to get to the point where you don't pull it off. But until then, like, I'm vibing. So I'm going to keep reading. And then it's like another level of enjoyment when I'm like, oh my God, she actually did pull it off. Like, wow, she did it.
Are you thinking as you're reading, this is what I would do?
No,
No, you're always just thinking like,
this
this
is
is where
what
we
they seem
are.
like they want to do. Are they going to be able to do it?
Okay. Okay. So that's sort of how I read, I feel. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
not a writer, so I'm never thinking this is what I would do ever. Do you go back and reread things with like more of a writerly brain if you're trying, like if you're working on something like, oh, this author did a great job of this kind of point of view. Like, I want to go back and read this and kind of like figure it out from a writer standpoint?
Yes. So often I'll be like, I have a challenge. I need to cover like a lot of time really quickly, for instance. And I will think of a book I love, probably written by Edward P. Jones or,
Okay.
or, or Toni Morrison, or, I have my favorites. And so
Okay.
uh, I'll be like, oh, let me just read like 50 pages really quickly, just to be reminded, like, how do you handle time on a
Got it.
basic level? Because I think sometimes it's like the micro things that I will feel like, oh, I forgot how to do this, or I just need to be reminded of like a way to do it. Not like I do it exactly like them. But yeah, so I often will think of somebody, or I'll phone a friend, I'll be like, what are some books that do this very well? I think that's like one of the best things that are in writers group chats that maybe the world does not see. People put it on, threads or Instagram sometimes too. They ask the world.
Yeah.
But I find that the books that writers have top of mind are not necessarily all books that came out in the last like 5 years.
Right.
And I find that to be very useful because everybody is like susceptible to trends and writers are no different. So it might be a book in the last 2 years that was put out that does POV very well, but everybody is thinking about the way that that book does POV versus a book that
Right.
came out 100 years ago that does POV very well.
Right. Are there any trends in the writer world right now that you're particularly fond of and any that you're particularly annoyed by?
No, I I mostly read to blurb, and I'm in a
Okay.
very good position where most of the people I'm blurbing are people that I've taught before, et cetera, that know what they're doing. So I'm not, and even if I'm ultimately like, oh man, that draft I saw 10 years ago was better than this one, I
Mm,
know that they like have the toolkit. So I'm not reading a lot of stuff that is just that is contemporary just because everybody else is reading it. And
got it.
so I don't know what those trends are. And also
Yeah.
most people are just like not reading literary fiction.
Well, most people here with me are. Most of my listeners are. Not me. I'm trying not to read any literary fiction. That's not true either,
I've
but
heard this about you.
I do read fiction. Here's the thing. I we talked about this in Mississippi about hard books because I was like, Angela, is your book going to be too hard for me? Am I not going to like it? I just want to read something that is smart but also is feels easy. I want the author to take me somewhere that I want to go. I want to come with you, but I don't want to feel like I'm having to work hard. I want you to make it like, I want to be flying first class, right? Like, I just want this great ride with this great book. When you start making it that I got to figure out and it's like slow and heavy and I'm trudging through it, I don't want that. That's not how I like my reading life to be. So I feel like sometimes in literary fiction, there's like this seriousness, there's a lack of like joy or excitement in the book. And I feel like what I really like about The Wilderness is I can tell that you have a very intimate relationship with these women. Like that I am being let inside to these women. And even when they do stuff where I'm like, Desiree, babe, like stop immediately. I like her. I want her to stop, not because I'm annoyed by her, but because you love her and I now love her. And so, like, I think a lot of literary fiction misses that piece of it where it's like, I'm happy to go with you wherever you want to go, but like, can we have a nice time even when it sucks? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think that there's a lot of reasons for that, and some of it, I wonder if you feel that way about, literary fiction where people even really calling differentiating, but books that have endured from like the 70s, right? Or the 60s. I think not that this is not going to be where Angela talks, shit about a bunch of MFA programs, but I do think, and people have written about this, I'm not the first
Yeah.
one, I think Brandon Taylor has like a Substack post about this that I've read before, but this idea of like a sort of self-defensive fiction, right? Like
Mm,
a literary fiction that wants to try to preempt every criticism, like
yes.
every bit of feedback, they're trying to get ahead of it, right? And they're also trying to prove that they have mastered the form when it's like,
Hmm.
ain't nobody mastered the form. Like that's not
Never.
that's not how the form works because it's, elastic and it's expansive. So that's the beauty
Right.
of you can just keep writing these books because there's different things to try. But I think that sometimes that can be it feels like work because it's like homework, right? Somebody's doing
Right.
this because they want to get a gold star
Right.
versus they have a set of interests. One of them could be to entertain the reader. Absolutely, that's one of them. But I have all these other aesthetic interests that in the pursuit of them, yeah, I want readers to feel like, wow, she did a big one. She was having fun, even though
Yeah.
like the subject matter is not always good. She was having fun trying to achieve these things.
What other interests do you have besides entertaining the reader?
Well, the more you read, the more your taste starts to like outpace your ability.
Sure.
So with The Wilderness, I had an interest in writing about what it feels like to be a part of a group, which you would say I already did in the Turner House, but what it feels like to be a part of like a group that has history, but it's not as like big as like a family's,
Hmm.
lineage.
Hmm.
And what it feels like to be alive right now, right?
Yeah.
And to have had been in your 20s when I was in my 20s and to have like the outside influences. And I wanted to do that on an aesthetic level, like a book. I do believe that like a book, if it's a book about Salman Rushdie has this quote about like if he wanted to write, this is talking about the satanic verses, if he wanted to write a book about immigration or migration, the form of it had to somehow like mirror what it feels like when that book
Mm,
begins with some people falling out of the sky. And so similarly, this book had to feel like what it felt like to be part of a group, to be a Black millennial woman in the last 20 years, to be aware of yourself, but also like insecure of how you come off to others. And also the rise of like self presentation that happened over the last 20 years because of social media. So there's a
right.
way that I had to structure the book. Some of the things that you might, maybe in the beginning you did, it's okay, Tracy. If you found it difficult, the jumping around in time also, it has to do with, I don't want to give it all away, but it had to do with the way that time has changed over the last 20 years related to our relationship to the internet.
I just want to say, I actually like jumping around in time. I know that that is a thing that a lot of readers do not like. That's not a problem that I have. I like it. I think that comes from my reading of nonfiction, because a lot of times in nonfiction, like you start at the end, then you go back to the beginning, then you work out the middle. It's like, so I don't have that problem. I have other problems, but not that particular
What are
problem.
your problems? I feel like
Well, so
what are
I
they?
don't like to work too hard. I don't want my fiction to feel like homework. That's for sure.
Mhm.
I want there to be things that happen. I dislike just being with a person, just them living. I need something. And it doesn't have to be like a murder. Like, it could be anything. I mean, I think like there's a section in this book pretty early on, maybe like third or fourth, because it's broken up, like you said, different time periods. Maybe it's a third or fourth, where Nakia, who is she's a restaurateur, and she's sort of like at the beginning stages of this relationship with the person she works with. And like stuff happens in that section. It's not like, these huge life events, but like something is happening. I need my characters to be figuring something out. And sometimes I feel like characters are just living, and I
Mhm.
don't like that. That is something I don't like. I like them
You
to
like
be
movement.
yes, I just need a little something. I usually say it's plot, but I'm realizing like there are character driven books that I really like. I think this book is pretty character driven. Things happen, but it's like, I mean, yeah, like you said, you're hanging out with a group. So it's a lot of just like dynamics. The book has like a lot of dynamic flow. But something that Clavis Natera said on this podcast is that, similar to what you were saying that Salman Rushdie said, is like you have to match the content to the context. And I loved that. I mean, I don't know if she invented that, but that's what she says. And I was like, right, because her book is about people who work at this resort. And so she's like, this is a labor book. And what is the job? You know, these people are all working, but what is the job of the reader? The job of the reader is to read. So she wanted to make her book so compelling that you didn't want to put it down, so that you were also working like alongside the characters. And I was like, sure, this makes sense. I'd never heard someone talk about it in that way. And now you're saying this. And I'm like, oh, I guess this is something writers think about. Who knew? You guys made plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know other things I dislike in books. I'm trying to think. I sometimes just know it when I read it, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like when people are like didactic. I don't fucking tell me what to think. I'll tell you what I think when I get there. But I don't like the hand holding shit. I really dislike that.
and it's not what the form is for, right? Like you
Yeah.
I don't really think it's what any artistic form is for, but it's certainly not what like fiction is for, because you
Yeah.
are supposed to, that's the magic, is like I give you something and then your
Right.
brain like does the rest. So if I give
Right.
you everything, why are you here? You
Yeah,
know?
I don't need you to connect the dots. That's why I'm here to connect my own dots. And I think that's
Mhm.
always like that's one of my favorite things about a really good novel. Like when we do Toni Morrison book club here, I'll be like, "Oh, da 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 da," and then my guest will be like, "Oh, this other thing." And I'm like, "Oh my god, you're so right. I didn't even think of that." And then I'm like, "Oh, all these things are now connecting to what you just said." That that is, I am willing to read a harder book like Toni Morrison for those reasons. Though I still think, even though her books are hard, she doesn't, there's still that joy under them. Like I'm still wanting to be with them. I'm not feeling like intimidated. It's a balance between, I don't want you to be too much smarter than me, but I also don't want you to be think I'm too stupid.
Right. I mean, I think about it, I don't remember whose class I was in. Oh, no, I think it was Alan Gurganis's, like, in my MFA program a million years ago, and he was talking about, it was a Chekhov class, and he was talking about
Oh,
which who among us sometimes we flip ahead to see when there's dialogue breaks.
me.
And he was like, it does not mean that you cannot have these pages and pages of beautiful narrative, but there is something on an elemental level about people speaking to each other that
Yes.
when nobody does, it feels like the writer is being stingy. Like the writer is
Yes.
like, you don't get that. You could just get this brain of mine and you can't get any voices.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's well, I have a background in theater, so
Mhm.
I love a scene. Like there are scenes in literature where I'm just like, yes, babe. I mean, Toni Morrison, think famously writes some of the best. Like there's those scenes in Tar Baby, the dinner table scenes. I'm like, it is giving
They're so
theater.
messy,
So
so
messy, and like
amazing.
people talking to each other, and like the dynamic, like you can just feel the energy of those scenes. And when a book has a scene like that, like just people talking, and I'm like, I am back in the Lyceum Theater in New York City. Like I'm just like, this is life. This is what a book could do. So I am like, please give me dialogue. I
I feel
mean
like
good dialogue.
Our Baby in particular is like Morrison showing she can do anything anyone else can do. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
there's like very useful dialogue and, then there's in Morrison, often the dialogue feels like the people are saying something that is like bigger than their like moment.
Yeah.
But she has that in Tar Baby, but then she just also has mess. Like
Mess.
these people at this table are crazy and dysfunctional, and they are saying and doing things, sometimes like attacking each other
Yes.
physically,
Yes.
and additionally to like emotionally. And she can do that too. And she can sort of balance that scene and make it feel like it makes sense next to these other more like introspective moments also.
Yeah. I mean, she's she was kind of good at writing books. It's crazy. No one talks about it. It's
Right.
like, oh, give Toni Morrison her flowers. Okay, wait. I have a very personal question for you about this book. True or false? Monique, Black in the Stacks, was inspired by this very podcast.
No. Did you feel
Boo!
did you feel attacked?
Boo!
Did you feel
No,
seen or did you feel attacked?
I just was like, oh, Monique, sorry that you stole my brand. Like, get a life. Because also
Actually, this
famously,
book has been worked on for so long.
um, Nana Kwame Adjei also has a stacks pack in his book. And I'm just like, oh, you guys all just came up with this idea at the same time as me. How dare you?
Well, time is relative. I've been working on this book for a decade, Tracy.
Okay. Well,
How long has
this
this stack been
podcast came out
around?
in almost 8 years ago. So, maybe I inspired you in a moment while you were working on it.
Also, were you ever a librarian?
No, God, no.
I feel like if you spend time with librarians, you'll hear the word "the stacks" a lot.
Well, I mean, I'm not a librarian. Do I strike you as a person who could have ever been a librarian?
Well, the title makes me
Sure.
wonder. Yeah.
Well, how about my personal volume level? Does that seem like something a librarian could do?
I don't think Monique is loud. She was a
Okay.
loud librarian.
Okay. Well, see, maybe she was inspired by me. It's fine. You don't have to admit that you stole your entire book from this one very podcast. It's fine. I will have the lawsuit sent your way immediately.
You could emphasize Black in the title. That would be cute, I think.
Black in the Stacks. Well, now I can't change the title because A, it's been around for 7 years, and B, we're having this conversation and people will hear it, and then you
It's
can
true.
sue me. So
Fair.
now we're at an impasse, you and I. Anything you say will be held against you in a court of law. Okay, I want to know about you. This is I don't normally like to ask fiction people this, but I am kind of curious about your friend group. Like, do you have a friend group that is similar to this book? Like, were you inspired by your own friend group? I have a lot of different sort of friend groups, but I know some people have that core thing going on. So I'm wondering if that is true for you, or were you just kind of curious and this was the best way to make a friend novel work?
I have several friend groups. I have my friends of over 20 years from undergrad. I have my line sisters for 20 years from undergrad. I'm a Delta. I have a group of friends from grad school. I have a group of friends from LA that I wrote alongside. And it's kind of all of that. And I also have a cousin friend group who this novel is dedicated to, and my sister. They were sort of my original friend groups. And so I think about all of those things. And I think probably my friends from college, my non-Delta friends from college, would say that they are the dominant friend group in my life. But I think that there's been I'm an Aquarius, so I love to accept the ebbs and flows of friendships, right?
Okay.
And keep them all. I like to keep them all,
Okay.
but they may ebb and they may flow. Yeah. So all of those were definitely in there.
My rising and my moon are Aquarius. Thank you.
But you are
a Leo. Roar.
Okay. Surprise.
We're right across from each other. I was born on a full moon. That's what I found out. So apparently if your moon is directly across your chart from your sun, that means you were born on a full moon.
Wow. I've been away from LA too long because
you don't care about this anymore.
No, I just am behind. I'm behind on this. I don't tell people my rising and my other things because I don't necessarily identify with them.
Ooh, okay. But now you have to tell us at least one. What's your rising?
I'm not going to tell you which one, but there's some Virgo in there.
Oh, you do strike me as someone who could have Virgo. Okay, let me ask you this because this is sort of a question that I have about writing this book. You strike me as a very meticulous person, especially in your craft. Just the way you talk about it, the way that I felt so taken care of in reading the book. I just felt like you put a lot of time and thought and specificity into this book, which strikes me as Virgo-like. Is that actually how you write, or am I just projecting onto you? What does your writing life actually look like?
Well, it is, I'm very hard on myself. So maybe that's the meticulous part, but I'm very slow because I am very, not that I was actually writing this book for 10 years straight. I was doing other stuff, but, I am very slow. I'm very hard on myself, I would say, is like the negative way to put it. Honest with myself, I would is the way
Okay.
that I would like to repackage
Okay.
that
I
as
love this.
like, I'm not gonna lie. If it's not good, it's not going in, and it's just not. And so I think that what good is changes, but for this book, I did feel that it needed to be a little bit of a kitchen sink book. My first book also kind of was. My
Okay.
next book will not be. But,
Okay.
but it needed to have everything because I wanted it to be about, like, I wanted it to be generational. Like,
Hmm.
I had that ambition for it. I
Hmm.
wanted to write a big social novel. I wanted to write, like, that kind of book. Like, they put, I think, I don't know, on a lot of the marketing copy, era defining, and if there is an ambition I had, it was, like, what is this moment that we are living in, and
Right.
where are we going? And I did wanna write that, and that did take some meticulousness, but I would say in my, like, personal life, I'm both. I can be very, like, I don't care about these things,
Yeah.
but the things I care about, I care about.
Got it. My friend has a saying where she says, same thing, don't care. Or like someone's like, oh, like, should I wear the purple or the blue? It's like, same thing, don't care. And I like that because I have that in my life too. Sometimes I'm just like, this is stupid. But then there's things where I'm like, this is the most important grain of rice that has ever existed. And I can't believe no one else cares about this one small grain of rice. Um, Speaking of sort of era defining, I was thinking about your book in relationship to some of the stories that I love, both on the page, but also on screen or just in general about like Black women's friendships. Do you think of your work in a lineage? And if so, what do you think of this book in a lineage with or tied to?
Like a year ago, maybe? I don't have what is time? I was asked at some event to, like, a early pre-pub event to give, like a comp, like a Hollywood comp,
Okay.
and I said that it is as if, like, Waiting to Exhale had a baby with A Visit from the Goon Squad,
Okay.
and I think that there are ways that both of those books, obviously, one more as far as subject matter, but the other maybe structurally,
Okay.
are related to this book, and I also, I read reread The Women of Brewster Place. I read, Sula multiple times. I also started this book before Insecure was on air. Shout out to Issa, my friend, who we are going to be in conversation with so soon. Very
Yes.
excited. Um, and I was just really excited about it.
Mm,
I think one of the most exciting things about Insecure towards the end is the beef. Like, there's
yes.
real beef, and I
Yes.
feel like in order to when I think about how do you keep a friend for decades, sometimes it can just be you remain surface level for decades, but often in order to go deeper, sometimes there has to be some kind of confrontation,
Right.
and as a Leo, I'm sure you can identify with, like, conflict is not abuse, right? Like,
Oh, yes. I love a
sometimes we
conflict.
gotta mix it up to move forward.
Yeah. This is something that's very hard for me because other people don't feel that way. And it's hard because sometimes I'll just say, what I'm thinking. Believe it or not, I don't have a problem with that. And sometimes people don't like that so much.
Oftentimes
Yeah,
people don't like.
most people don't appreciate it. And I'm just like, oh, just offering an opinion. Wasn't even trying to be mean, just letting you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's so hard to be a Leo. Ugh,
That I
I
relate to that.
persevere, I'm just such a fighter. Okay, we're going to pivot a little bit. Something that we do on this show, it's called Ask the Stacks. Someone has written in, they're looking for a book recommendation. I'm going to read to you what they are looking for. You're going to give us 1 to 3, but one is totally fine, recommendations.
Ooh,
And I
exciting.
will give a few too. People who want to do this on the podcast, email askthestacks@thestackspodcast.com. Okay, this one comes from Amber. I have really enjoyed your podcast and have recently and gladly rediscovered reading again after becoming a new mom. Our little one is 3.5. I'm feeling like I'm coming out of the fog of early parenting and realize that I don't quite know who the F I am anymore. I would love any reads that you recommend that center in and around self-discovery and for someone who was a parentified child. I have trouble engaging in play and enthusiastic joy. Excited about any recommendations you might have that are novels or memoir. I can go first,
Well,
or if you have something off the top of your head, you can go first.
you go first.
Okay, so self-discovery is not something that I generally read about. Like, it's not something that interests me for the most part. However, there's a new book that came out this year that I haven't finished. I just started it and I liked it and I've heard great things about it. It's called Second Life by Amanda Hess, and it's all about being a mom and a parent right now in this age of internet. It's not exactly about self-discovery, but it is sort of about like what the fuck it feels like to be like having a question about your kid and then, Googling it and having all these apps and all this stuff to track you and tell you how to be a parent. And I think that that is sort of an interesting thing to think about my kids are 5.5 in this second phase of parenting. Like, you're out of the baby phase, you're now into the like toddler little kid thing. And it's like, can I trust my instincts? Like, maybe I should, maybe I don't need all this shit. So that would be my first recommendation. My second recommendation would be a memoir. It's How We Fight for Our Lives by Saeed Jones. It's his memoir about the death of his mom and him sort of coming into himself. I don't know if I would fully say self-discovery, but it is very coming of age. He's Black, he's queer, he's in college, he's sort of figuring out who he is. He's also just such a beautiful writer that it's about life much more broadly than his own in a lot of ways. And then my third one is sort of, I don't know why I picked this, but it just felt right to me, which is The Mothers by Britt Bennett. It's about these teenage girls. I don't know if I can spoil any of it. I read it a while ago, so I don't know what is a spoiler, but they're dealing with mom stuff, as you can imagine, because it's called The Mothers. And it's just really good. It's a really great novel. I think it's a novel that is easy enough to read in the new parenting stage if you're just coming back into reading. Because sometimes, like, I know people struggle with kind of getting back into reading more difficult books, and it's sort of really smart and does so much, but again, it has that easy feel to it. You don't feel like you're working super hard when you read Brit stuff. How about you?
So, swear I'm not going to do this for everything.
Okay.
But if you want to read about a, parentified child, my new novel, The Wilderness.
I was going to put your novel, but I was like, that's so inappropriate. Desiree,
Listen,
right? Is that who you're? Yeah.
To enjoy.
Yeah.
But yes, there is motherhood is one of the themes in the book, and just like a meditation on motherhood sort of generationally, as well as like there is a character who is a new mother, and the feeling of when do I get back to myself is sort of central to her journey in the book. Another novel that I just picked up in Jackson, Mississippi, and I have not read yet, but I was on a panel with her and she spoke really compellingly about this subject, is The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla Motley, which is about actual children, like teenagers who become moms, who one of them is sent to Florida to have her child. And I'm very excited to read it. And I know from Layla's writing that it should be both like, impactful, but also delightful.
Yeah.
And let me think of an older book. I'm going to take it all the way back to The Street by Ann Petrie, which is about a single mother in Harlem, in kind of like Harlem Renaissance Harlem. And it is not like it's kind of dark. Like, there are some dark things that happen, but it is about how do you make a life that is better for your child and still try to like have a life.
Okay. Amber, if you read any of our picks, you have to tell us if we did a good job or not, if you still approve of us. If you hated our recommendations, we want to know. I want to know. Don't tell Angela. Tell me. I'll forward it to Angela. Don't worry. Don't spam her. But everyone else, you can get a recommendation read on air by emailing askthestacks@thestackspodcast.com. And now we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Valentine's Day is upon us and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. Angela, we're back. It's time for you. You're in the hot seat now. 2 books you love, 1 book you hate.
Okay. I love We the Animals by Justin Torres. I'm not just saying that because I love Justin Torres, which I do dearly, but because you want to talk about economy, you want to talk about skin in the game. I just feel like it is a book that makes me feel excited about doing. I love economy. I talked about being a kitchen sink writer, but I really do love people who can do a lot with a little. I wish I could do it. I also another book I love is I love On Beauty by Zadie Smith.
I've never read it. I've never read any Zadie Smith.
A lot of people do not rock with her fiction, but you know what? It's not perfect, but I enjoy it.
But you love
Every
it.
time I reread it, I'm like, I think it's aged the best of her early novels.
Okay. And then what about a book you hate?
I hate, I got a 5-year-old, so I like to say that hate hurts you. But
Well,
a book that
get her.
I threw across the room is Freedom by Jonathan Franzen.
I also hate that book. I did read it. That is exactly the kind of shit I don't want to be doing with my time. That book was boring. Okay.
You know what? I was fine with that. There was a moment, like 2/3 of the way through, where one of the characters sort of left his wife to be with this brown woman. And this brown woman is silly. So silly that she literally drives herself off of a mountain. And I'm like, in what? Like, she has really no interiority before that. And then she drives herself off the mountain. And I think that Jonathan Franzen is actually a really good writer. And I loved the corrections. But what in the Toni Morrison playing in the dark is going on there? I don't know.
I love it. I love it. We hate the same book. I mean, though I hate many books, and I'm okay for hate hurting me because I was hurt having to read that book. So I'm going to live in that. Wait, I want to ask you a question because when you said that Justin Torres' book with the economy, but you're like, that's not something I could do. Are there things is that something you'd ever try to do? Would you ever try to write like something like that? Or is that just not interesting to you as a writer, but but you love it as a reader?
I'm a maximalist. I feel like it's just, if I'm planning Thanksgiving, there's going to be like one too many things on the table. My house, I'm not doing the Marie Kondo. I don't know her. It's not like I'm a hoarder, but I just like stuff. And so I just don't think that I could it's a dream to have a book be fewer than 200 pages.
Oh, yes. It's a dream to read a book that's fewer than
I
200
remember
pages.
Terry Gross recently was talking about how she ideally thinks like a book should be under 300 pages.
Yes.
I'm at 304 in this one, and it killed me to be under
I,
304.
I don't think you're at 304, are you? Because, I mean, technically the book is, but I think the book ends on 289, 290.
Killed me. Killed
Well,
me to
it
do
was
it.
an honor for me. You know what? I don't hate a book that's over 300 pages, but once you get to 400, you've got to be doing something that requires my time. I will forgive you some this and that here and there if you're keeping it around, I think 250 is pretty perfect. But once you're requiring me to go for, then I'm like taking notes. I'm like, okay, we could have got this. I don't know about that. Did we need this? Like, I just get in my head more critical. Not for nonfiction, though I am, it depends.
So
Because
you're reading the Robert Caro and you're chill, but then like you need your fiction
no,
to be
that's
under
not true.
400.
It just depends on what it is. Like, I understand if you're writing like a massive book that you need all of this stuff in it. But there's some nonfiction books where I'm like, should have been a literal essay. Like, this is a paragraph. Like, so I'm harder on nonfiction in some ways, but also I read the biography of Ronald Reagan. It was like 900 pages. It did not need to be 900 pages, but I don't think you could have done it well in 250. Do you know what I mean? So like, I
Right.
understand some. He was like 100 when he died, and he got famous. Like, he was in the war. Like, he just did a lot of stuff. So, I
I feel like with fiction, there are some novels that are long that I love.
I agree. I just start to be more critical when you cross the 400 line. I'm just like, okay,
I think
but there
most
are
people who
long
take it that
novels.
far know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, there's a few out there. I
Do you have
mean,
any favorite like super longs, like chunkers?
I am just finishing rereading Anna Karenina. I have like 40 pages left. And I
Yeah.
actually like I didn't take it with me on tour because I was like, it'll be a nice treat to come back to these last 40 pages. I've been reading it all summer, alongside other
Right.
things. But it's fine to have a book that stays at home. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Also, they're like really heavy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, Marlon James's A Brief History of Seven Killings. It could have been longer.
Okay. I
it
did
could have
read
been
that. It
longer
could
for
have been
me.
shorter for me. I could have read
No,
less of it.
I just
But that book way too hard for me, and you know it. You know that book's too hard for me. From everything I've said, I had to do way too much work with that.
but the voices are so like the amount of voice that he is able to
Yes.
maintain
So
and
impressive.
differentiate.
So impressive. Too hard for me. Couldn't do it. Struggled.
Okay.
The ending though, when I got to the end, I was like, gotta start this book over immediately. I was compelled by the time I got there. It was too long for me. It was a struggle. I think I understand that it's good. Did I like it? Not so much.
I loved it. I should reread it. Now you got me wanting to reread it. I love, winter is for a long book. So I may be
Oh, I
rereading.
like a long book in summer.
Well, then I have to carry you're not on the train because then it's like, oh, I gotta carry it around. It's hot outside. I'm inside more in the winter anyway. So it's like it's me and this book and I'm not taking
That's
it
true.
anywhere.
I did live in New York and I did used to carry long books on the train. I just want you to know.
Okay, well that's you're strong. Strong
I,
woman.
Malia,
There we
baby.
go.
Roar. You can't really see my muscles, but everybody, they look really good. Don't worry. Went to Orange Theory yesterday. Okay. What's the last, like the most recent book you read that was just great?
Easy. The Double Three Times by Ricky Faye.
You loved?
I loved it. I love a generational saga. It's set in Tennessee and a little bit in sort of like pre-enslavement West Africa. Follows this one family and they have like a guardian, like an anti-guardian angel, literally
Okay.
the devil that sort of
Okay.
follows along with this family. But the way that the story sort of incorporates African and African American like belief traditions and folklore and spirituality, but also is just really funny. It reminds me of Zora Neale Hurston, but it just reminds me of the blues and it reminds me of just having fun. Like it just feels like a book that Ricky had fun writing
Mm,
and was able to pull off. I saw Ricky I worked with him at Combilio, which is like a Black fiction workshop. several years ago. I don't remember how many years ago, but I saw just like a chapter then, and I was like, wow, this is a really good chapter. How is he going to pull off this devil situation for a whole novel? And it's one of those things where you read it and it's like, I don't know if you're going to be able to do it, but I'm going to be along for the ride until it falls apart. And it never fell apart.
Oh,
It
I
never
love
did.
that. I love that. Okay, these don't have to be new books, but what are some books you're just looking forward to reading?
Um, I am looking forward to reading Things in Nature Merely Grow by Ian
Oh,
Louis.
talk about not only economy, but just fucking fantastic. God, that book is so good. Whew.
I'm probably going to read it in a couple weeks when I get back home. Interested. I feel like it's time for me to do some rereading. Um, I am interested in rereading. Well, you know what I've never read? Speaking of Marlon James, I've never read the Book of Night Women. Interested
Me
in reading.
neither.
I knew you were going to ask me this, and I was like, "That's easy, top of my head." And now look at me. Uh,
That's okay. Well, let me ask you this then. How do
mhm.
you pick a book? Are you looking at reviews, friends' suggestions, people you know, authors you've read? Like, how do you decide what you want to read?
I decide based on vibes or just I look at my bookcase because I buy the books and then I just have them for
Right.
however long. Could be just a couple weeks, could be years until I read them. So sometimes it's just I feel like I want a book of this size, like this is going to fit in my bag nicely, or I want a really large book, or it'll be that I read criticism. You and I believe in criticism, not
We
everybody
do.
believes in it.
A
But,
lot of people
I
don't
read
believe
some
in it.
criticism, whether they hated it or loved it, that made me think, "You know what? I wanna be a part of this conversation by reading this book," you know?
That's exactly right. That's
Yes.
why I always say talking shit about books is good for books.
It
People think
is.
that's bad for books. It's not.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't have to be a rave. Sometimes
It's
it
the
could be a
it's the way
pain.
that you talk shit about it, though. That's
Yeah.
the
Well, it's
difference.
got to be lovingly,
And it has
like
to be, again, take the book on its terms.
on
Talk
its
shit.
merits. Yeah,
You
on
have
what
to
it's
speak
trying to
its
do.
language. Like, if you're speaking a
Yes.
different language than the book to talk shit about the book, then it's like, "This is
Yeah.
about you. This is not
Yeah.
about the
That's
book."
right. It's like,
But,
I mean, I always
um
say, what is the book trying to do? Did it do it well? And did I like it? Those are the questions. But, people, everyone's so nice. Everyone's be so nice. You
Well,
let
I
me
think it's
down.
just we do live in an age of cruelty.
We
And
do.
so people
We
are
do.
like, well, in the ways that it feels low stakes to be nice, let's just be nice. But ain't
But doesn't
nothing
help me know what the fuck is in the book. And then I read the book and I'm like, oh, so you're the idiot. You thought this was great? Like, you're a liar and a cheat. Um, Speaking of things that are great, what are books that you love to recommend to people? Like your go to Rex?
I love to recommend Roberto Bolaño's The Savage Detectives because I wouldn't recommend that to you,
No, I know that's too hard for me.
but I would recommend it to people who are interested in thinking about what fiction can do outside of an Anglophone perspective of what
Hmm.
fiction is supposed to be doing. I would recommend similarly, I mean, a lot of African listeners will be like, duh, but Taib Saleh's Seasons of Migration to the North
We did that
still
on this podcast for book club.
still is a book that I feel like economy, but
Yes.
the way that it is shaped is not like a lot of, traditional Anglophone literature is like shaped, and it is the assumptions that a person might have about how the story is going to unfold is not how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Um, I would suggest Edward P. Jones's All on Hagar's Children. People love to suggest Lost in the City, but there are some stories in All on Hagar's Children that I still think about. I think it's just every single story is a universe.
I've never read any Edward P. Jones.
Tracy, you can never understand me if you
Okay, well,
don't.
I tell where okay, where should I start?
I actually think that you would really enjoy the known world. It is
Okay.
maybe it's 400 pages, but it is like there's a part of it where it's like, am I in a Western? Like there, it
Ooh.
is a things happen. Like things
Okay.
happen.
All right.
I always talk about how I wish it could be a film, but Hollywood, a film about Black people who were enslavers, people.
Not
Their
gonna happen.
brains are not, like, expansive enough
Yeah.
today, but maybe one day. But it is I think especially now where we live in an age where some of the narratives of, like, who is a victim and who is an aggressor are being complicated. Now is the time to revisit the known world,
Mm.
for those reasons, and also just because it is, like, an expansive, like, really compelling story.
How do you like to read? Where are you? Snacks and beverages, time of day, temperature, anything. Set the scene for like your ideal reading situation.
Janet Jackson said, "Anytime, any place."
Okay.
112 said, "We could do it anywhere."
Anywhere.
And this is how I feel. Um, I like to read everywhere.
Okay.
I will read anywhere in the house. There's not a room I will not read in. I don't need a certain chair. I don't need a certain time of day. I will read on my stoop. I will read in a park. I will read on a train.
You're
Yes.
literally you're literally giving green eggs and
Yes.
ham. It's
Literally,
green eggs and ham,
it's me.
but for reading.
It's me. That's a, I mentioned some PG examples. That's my rated G
Yeah.
example, green eggs
Yeah,
and ham.
I love this. I love this. It's the opposite though. Would you on a train? I could, I would on a train, in a car, on a plane. Can you
Yes.
read in the car?
I can read in the car. If I'm in the back seat, I can read in the car and
I
not
can
on my
only
phone.
read my Kindle in the car. I can't read a physical book for whatever
Really?
reason. I get so car sick. I can barely read in the car, but if I have to, I could do it on the Kindle. Okay, this is our sort of lightning round, which is just quick answers. What's the last book you purchased?
Mm. The last book I purchased, I think, was The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla
Okay.
Molly.
What's the last book that made you laugh?
Anna Karenina.
Okay. Were you laughing at the wheat, or were you laughing at the love affair? Another book we've also done on book club, Anna Karenina.
I was laughing at Tolstoy's Shade. So, people talk about, oh, you can't have your book have all these like specific time period things because they won't be timeless. Like sometimes you have to go to the back to get the joke. But then when you get it, so I'm like almost at the end. So it's the part where what's his name? Oblonsky tries to get this divorce for his sister from Alexei Alexandrovich. And they have this like medium who falls asleep and then is like, get the man out of here who came to ask a question. And it's ridiculous and hilarious, but it's like based on a medium who did like kind of scam his way into aristocracy in Russia at the time. It's really funny.
I love this. I don't remember that part at all, but
Of course
it's
you don't.
okay.
There are so many people are always just showing up at people's houses late at night.
There's so many people and so many names. I'm like, who? Okay, what's the last book that made you cry?
Probably Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking, which I
Mm.
reread last year.
What was the last book that made you angry?
Ooh. Probably Mega Majumdar's A Burning.
The last book where you felt like you learned a lot.
Oh, it's Kindred Creation by my friend Ida Mariam Davis, which is like about sort of non-Western, like African-centric ways of building community, among other things. And there were just a lot of examples in there that I hadn't thought about, like our relationship to time and how sort of
Mhm.
Western-centric that is, et cetera.
What's a book that you're embarrassed that you've still never read?
Embarrassed. I don't really get embarrassed because I'm like, you know, what is the canon? But a book that I have found myself in a position to pretend I've read,
Okay, that's
and
nice.
I've never read the whole thing, is probably Moby Dick. I've only read parts of Moby Dick,
Almost everybody says Moby Dick.
but
That's a
I'm
book that
not
I've
embarrassed.
never planned to read. If I can avoid reading Moby Dick, if I can live my whole life and never read Moby Dick, I'll be like, sign me up, babe. But I do know that's also a book that a lot of people say is a book they hate. So just so you know, might not be worth your time. Do you have a problematic favorite book or author? Either one.
Mm, maybe is the corrections a problem?
It could be. Yeah, I think he's problematic. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, since I did not like, since I threw another book across the
Yeah.
room, I liked the corrections. I haven't reread it in maybe 10 years, but I liked it.
What about your favorite book from childhood? since you were an avid early reader?
I am going to not mention the typical ones and go with all of the early Anne Rice vampire books. The way that,
Oh.
that was my sexuality in junior high
Okay.
school was just, I am a gay male vampire. That's me. I loved them. I just read them and reread them. Yes.
I love it. Okay. If you could assign one book in your class as a high school English teacher, what book are you assigning?
Sorry to just be this person, a broken record, but I feel like alongside this Mice and Men and Grapes of Wrath is The Known World. Like, if you really want to think about this country and where we are and where we're going, I really think that novel should be required reading in high schools alongside those sort of American classics.
I love it. Okay, last one. I stole this from the New York Times. If you could require the current president of the United States of America to read one book, what would it be?
A book of spells that after he read them,
And reads them aloud and they cast on himself.
right? No, I mean, the thing is, I could say, oh, the Constitution, but it's the thing is, the ignorance, I don't believe it. I actually believe that he's not ignorant of these things. He just also is a student of history enough to know that if nobody stops you, you could get away with doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody at home, go get your copy of The Wilderness. It's out in the world. I read some, but I also did listen to some of the audiobook. You read some of the audiobook.
I do. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's a very good audiobook if you're an audio person. It's a very good book, so it works, wherever you need it. And Angela will be back to discuss Frankenstein by Mary Shelley with us. It is the first time we have ever done horror on this podcast because I am such a scaredy cat. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to read the book because I'm too scared of everything. But we're going to be discussing that right back here on October 29th. Come back. Hear me cry about how scared I was the whole time and how I've been having nightmares ever since. I don't know. I'm scared of everything. I get nightmares when I read nonfiction. I get nightmares when I read anything scary.
Oh, you definitely might have nightmares, but it's not actually scary.
Okay. Well, sounds scary to me. But we'll be doing that on October 29th. You can get your copy of The Wilderness wherever you get your books. Angela, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Angela Flournoy for joining the show. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Eliza Rosenberry for making this episode possible. Angela will be back on Wednesday, October 29th for the Stacks Book Club conversation about Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. If you love the show, if you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack and subscribe to my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Make sure you're subscribed to the Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a rating and a review. And you know what? Why don't you go tell your friend about the show too? That would be amazing. For more from the Stacks, you can follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And now we're also sharing videos on YouTube. You can check out our website at thestackspodcast.com. Today's episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Waikia Freelo. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tagirajis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.